temple that captured the world's attention, a court battle that nearly lasted a decade.
Quarter they will give us and quarter the government will take. We said we want nothing. He said, this is not our war. This is the white man's war. Privileges abolished, but the titles continued.
And a royal family that was entrusted with one of India's most sacred institutions.
We belong to the temple. It is our family, dynastic, personal family deity.
Born inside the Kowdiar palace when Travancore was still a kingdom.
The change I saw was that from our own Travancore flag, it became an orange flag with the Government of India emblem.
Padma Shri Awardee, poet, scholar, author, and a member of the Travancore Royal Family, which has been serving the Padmanabhaswamy Temple for generations. And what is the story of Vault?
To the best of our knowledge, has not been opened.
This is my conversation with Ashwathi Thirunal, Gowri Lakshmi Bayi.
Suddenly, somebody found a drop of blood on the floor. And it is a stream, it's a long line of blood up to the door of the Bikalara.
Amma, welcome to Nisha ek Soch. Namaskaram, Amma.
Namaskaram.
I'm so thrilled to be sitting in front of you. It's such an honor. I've known you to be such a strong woman. Through all the stories I've heard and I've seen. But I would like to know from you personally about so many smaller things that were not so small in your life, had greater meaning and impact on your family and the society as a whole. I would like to start with asking you that, when I look at you, you look so simpler. Our idea of a royal family member is someone who's adorned in jewelry, somebody who's decked in heavy clothing. And I look at you, are like so much of simplicity, so much of humility. How does that come to be, Amma?
I think basically the Kerala lifestyle is simple. Not now. I should use the past tense. Was simple. Our basic fundamental character, simple. Whether you are the king or a commoner on the road, everybody wore a dhoti. Maybe the king would perhaps not always have a gold lace, but many times no, it was just a black pulilakara. Whoever it may be, they all sat on the floor on a mat. They ate off a leaf.
Yeah.
They had the leaf for a spoon. They had another leaf for a bowl to drink water.
Right.
Then, if you're hot, whoever you may be, you had a vishari made of palm leaves. Some of them had ramacham, vishari. Then you were sleeping on a mat.
What is a ramacham, Mama?
Ramacham is, what do you call it in English? It's a sort of a rough thing.
Okay.
And it's got a very fine smell when the breeze passes through and all the very beautiful fragrance.
Oh,
it's
nice.
a natural product.
Okay.
It's a natural product.
Okay.
And then everybody, you don't have the fancy towels that you have. We had what is called a torta.
Right.
Even today,
Yeah.
the torta, whether it's the king or the man on the street, they all had a torta to wipe their body after their bath.
Okay.
They all had, instead of the different types of toothpaste which guarantee impossible effects and results, they all had umikari or klale. The basic structure of the Malayali, irrespective of his position.
Right.
In many ways, it was on a common platform.
Oh, is it?
Then a king might live in a palace, a poor man might live in a hut.
Okay.
Those differences, of course, are there. But the basic lifestyle, it was very, very, for almost everybody, it was more or less common. And with regard to jewelry, I always feel that we never had much exposure to jewelry, even as children.
Okay.
And the nicest thing about jewelry, you wear a heavy necklace. The nicest thing is when you take it off, water relief.
True.
Water relief.
True.
So that way, we were never addicted to jewelry. And we have never seen the type of jewelry that is seen in many of the royal houses.
Yes.
I'm not blaming anybody. It is each person's heritage or each person's lifestyle, which is the thing that shapes the lifestyle.
So you never saw your mother wearing jewelry?
Yes, at times,
Yes.
grandmother.
Yes.
Grandmother was Maharani.
Yeah.
She was the Maharani.
Yeah.
My uncle was the Maharaja.
Yeah.
Who last Maharaja to rule
Yes.
Travancore or Tiruvidankur was Maharaja Chitra Tirunal. His only sister was my mother. And I have lived all my life till he moved on to the feet of Sree Padmanabhaswamy. I have lived all my life under his umbrella only, under the umbrella of Chitra Tirunal. Not only I, all of us, the entire family, my sister, my brother, the entire family, we lived under his benign grace.
How was that childhood, Amma? What was beautiful about that childhood?
It was a very exceptional childhood in the eyes of others. For us, it came naturally because nothing else we knew. We were born into the system, we were brought up into this, so there's nothing unusual for us. But for the outsider, it was definitely something a little unusual. For us, within the four granite walls, we saw the world, we saw life, we saw so many things, and people, so many VIPs coming, and so many things we saw which normal childhood would stand denied. I have a vague memory of myself going in a state procession in a palanquin, in a green palanquin. That palanquin is now in our museum. We have a museum in the fort called Kudira Maliga or Puttan Maliga, just next to the Padmanabhaswamy Temple.
Okay.
That palanquin is there.
Wow.
That green palanquin.
And what age were you, Amma, that time?
I must have been about 4 or 3 or 4.
Okay.
Vague memory of the. And and we never went to school.
You were homeschooled?
We had home school. Tutors came. My sister and my brother and I. We all studied at home. And
what did they teach you? Music, culture, all subjects?
not music. They did not teach music. They had a regular school curriculum.
Okay.
Whatever that was being taught in the schools were taught to us by one of the schools, Holy Angels Convent. Their examination papers, our tutor would bring, and we would answer those papers.
You had examinations then?
Yes. To go into every class.
Yeah.
The final exam, the papers came from the Holy Angels.
And what were the subjects?
Everything which the school taught, whether it was English, whether it was Malayalam, whether it was science or mathematics, geography, civics, history.
Okay.
The regular curriculum.
And did you ever have a chance to go into a real school? And I know you went on to go and study in a government college later, but before, during school, did you ever have a chance to go have a school, look at the school? No.
Never.
And when you were in the palanquin, Amma, when you actually had the look outside, what did you remember anything? What you saw outside, how the procession was, what it was about?
Yes, it was very exciting for us to watch the processions because they were so colorful, and the pageantry and color and music and fanfare. That was, of course, as children, it was something which we looked forward to. And to the festivals of the temple, and to the Navaratri, which we look forward to even more.
Yeah.
The 9 days of Navaratri, they were wonderful for us. Those were things we really looked forward to.
Did you ever question that why I'm not walking on the road like others? Did you have it in your mind, or it was like very natural for you?
It was very natural.
Yeah.
We never thought about it.
Yeah.
And we never went to shops.
Yeah.
The shops would come here.
Yeah.
The people would send their wares here.
Yeah.
But we had very little needs.
Okay.
And all three of us, we never had no urge to accumulate clothes, or even our toys were, compared to what the children have today, very few in number, and we took care of our toys. Every evening after we play, we are supposed to replace them carefully, whether it's a costume dolls or whether it's a paper cut dolls or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Everything has to be put back in place. And then we were exposed to a lot of reading.
Yeah, that was your interest more than
Yes,
clothes
the
and
interest
toys.
was inculcated in us. The reading habit, that was very much there, and we have read a lot of books.
Yeah.
We had a very fine library here, and but many of the books were far above us or beyond us, because they were great masters, original classics, which in our age and stage in life it would have. But then by the time we reached 4th form, in those days 10th form was the school leaving, that is SSLC.
Yeah.
So by the time we reached the 4th form, our tutors insisted they would give a list of books which we had to read. And if there was something we did not understand, we can write it down, look at the dictionary. If the dictionary does not give the suitable answer, then you can ask the teacher next day. But many of them were originals. They were not abridged.
Right.
For instance, Tale of Two Cities by Dickens was being taught in an abridged form as a non-detailed in the college. In the fourth form, I have read the unabridged 2 volumes, the full, this big, unabridged. And then Xenonian by Lord Lytton, what is the standard? Walter Scott, he would write one sentence in one page, one sentence. I can also do that. Maybe I was influenced by him.
Yes, that's how probably.
One sentence I can, sometimes one page I can fill with one sentence without making a grammatical mistake.
Is that all the discipline that you learned from your childhood that shaped your ideologies, your thought process?
I think we were influenced by our elders. We never had a generation gap as they have today, perhaps.
Oh, is it? How is that?
No generation gap. Grandmother was the senior most, whether it was grandmother or my younger brother, there was no generation gap.
What does that mean, Amma? No generation gap in the
we
thought
could,
process?
We could correlate with them, we could talk to them, we could go and sit with them, otherwise if you have a generation, there's nothing for you to say.
Yeah.
You just looking at the time when you can go.
Yeah.
We all got on and we went for picnics together. Grandmother used to take us for picnics to the beach we had some houses outside.
Okay.
And she was an excellent cook.
Yeah.
Even if she touched water, it would be tasty.
Oh, wow. Nice.
She was an excellent cook. So she loved cooking. We had our own cooks. Normally, there was no need for anybody to cook, even today. But as a treat, she would cook. I mean, each person was exceptional in his or her own way.
What was your favorite dish from her? Do you have any memory of what you loved most?
My grandmother's curds.
Curds?
She used to make curds.
Yeah.
It was something superb.
Yeah, just the curd.
Curds. And then there was a one which is not, even among the Malayalis, I don't know, it's called Erupuli or Irupuli, Dandapuli. There's a special curry which we make here.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it is very common elsewhere.
Okay.
She used to make that. I used to love it.
Okay.
And her potato medicurity.
I'm sure you still remember the taste of it and you think of it.
Oh.
Nice.
But grandmother she was a very strong person.
Right.
She was a very strong person.
So when Travancore actually came into the Republic of India, were you aware of the changes that happened during that time? Or was it just happened all in the background?
I mean, I was too young to know about it. All I knew was the change I saw was that from our own Travancore flag, which is a red flag with a gold shankha.
Okay.
Shankha mudra is our emblem.
Okay.
It became an orange flag with the
emblem.
Government of India emblem.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
That I noticed why this change has come. And then the flag on top of every morning at sunrise with the bugle, the flag would go up.
Okay.
And in the evening retreat, they would blow the bugle and the flag would come down.
Yeah.
That is a Travancore flag. That was a difference.
Okay.
Again,
yeah,
that was a difference.
Right.
And when Maharaja is not here, the flag will not fly.
Oh, is it?
Even now in the Raj Bhavan, if the governor is not there, the flag...
Correct.
That's how it was. I don't know how it is now. That is how it was.
Yeah.
The flag would not. So things like that, otherwise it really made no impact on us because we were too small.
But did life change after that? Do you feel like anything
No, because
changed?
he became the Raj Pramukh.
Yeah.
From Maharaja, he became the Raj Pramukh of Tirukochi, Travancore and Cochin.
Okay.
Together, combined states, the United States of Travancore, Cochin, he became the supreme head.
Nice.
But then for us it was, I mean...
Didn't ever get a chance to notice that.
It did not make an impact on us.
Yeah.
But later, in 1956 or sometime when the Raj Pramukhship was abolished, the government had said Raj Pramukh for life. But after 6 or 7 years, they abolished the Raj Pramukhs. And India became a republic.
Yes.
And though they had assured, that went. And then all the rulers were assured privileges, privy purse, privileges for life. That also in the 1970s they abolished.
Yes.
Today, an MLA, who, if he has served at least 2.5 years, he gets a pension for life. Today.
Yeah.
The Maharajas, and they have given up what? Their entire kingdom.
Yes.
Their legacy.
Yes.
Their tradition. Everything. And though they were assured it, they abolished it. That very much I remember. And how So many things changed.
Yeah. What do you feel like you've actually taken and carried forward from your grandmother or your uncle? Like a few qualities that you feel like, I am just like them in this. Some discipline, some habits.
No, we were all very disciplined. We were.
Yeah.
Nowadays we are not that disciplined. But in those days we were disciplined. But what I have learned, specifically from each of them, something we have learned.
Yeah.
For instance, my mother, she told me, you must promise me one thing when I was a child.
Okay.
We are too young to argue. In those days, you don't argue with your parents.
Yeah.
Then she said, you must promise never to promise. Because one day you may have to break that promise. So, you must not promise. I have never promised. There are many people who say, I will tell you something if you promise. I say, I'm sorry. I will not say.
Yeah.
I will tell you I will not say, but I will not promise. I have kept up that
Right.
to this minute. She had always said, never betray a confidence. Never betray a confidence. If somebody tells you something in confidence, you should never betray it. Like this, everybody, father used to say, have faith in God and confidence in yourself. Faith in God is a necessity, but you have to have confidence in yourself. Father was a very well-known person in Kerala and even in India and even on an international. He was the father of sports in Kerala. In almost everything, the first sports council in Kerala is in Travancore.
Right.
It was established by him, and all the, whether it is the tennis club or the rifle club or the aquatic association, mountaineering association, flying club, yachting club, everything it was he.
Okay.
He was a great sportsman and tourism also.
Okay.
If you came through the domestic airport,
Yeah.
did you see two big pictures on the wall? As you come into the area where you get the luggage and all that, just before that, as you walk in on the wall,
Yeah.
you can't miss it, but then if you don't look at it, you won't see it. But it is very big.
When I go back, I'll be seeing
But
it.
you won't be seeing because
Because I won't be coming in from the same way.
no, because
Yeah.
it's exit is
Right.
is
On the other
another
side.
way. This is the entry. On the VIP room, on either side of the VIP room, there are huge two photographs.
Okay.
One is of my uncle Chitra Tirunal, who established the airport, and the other is my father,
Okay.
Colonel G.V. Raja.
Okay.
So the father used to, like everybody used to have something to say.
So their lessons have been deep rooted.
Very
with them.
much.
Yeah.
Very
yeah,
much.
Yeah.
But the person who has influenced me maximum in my life, I don't have to think even 1 second, is my uncle,
Right.
Maharaja Chitra Tirunal, who is to me a Pratyaksha Padmanabhan. If Padmanabhaswamy can come in form, if sweetness, gentleness, humility and greatness can have a physical form, that was my Padmanabhan. That was my Padmanabhan. And everything we have, even today, he has passed on in 1991. I never say he expired or his demise. I don't use those words in connection with him. He cannot cease to be. So he moved on to the feet of Padmanabhaswamy in 1991. But even today, as I sit and talk to you, the roof over my head, the food I have eaten, the clothes I wear, everything other than Padmanabhaswamy is because of my Padmanabhan. And he, anyway.
You feel so connected to him even today. You feel him,
very
his
much.
presence everywhere.
Very much.
Amma, I come into the palace and I see so many beautiful paintings here of Ravi Varma. And what do you really like about his paintings? What do you appreciate? Because you're such a creative person. You have an eye for art.
Yes, I have not reached that stage in art criticism for me to evaluate Ravi Varma.
Yeah, but what do you like about it when you see it?
Ravi Varma is Ravi Varma. I mean, his play of colors, especially the lights and shades, and this picture, for instance, so much of light and shade plays there.
Yeah.
And those things, and then he brought, he gave faces to gods and goddesses all over India.
Yeah.
The paper, this of Lakshmi or Ganapati or Saraswati, which are there, came from him.
Yeah.
And he did a national integration also. He gave most of his heroines the sari.
Right.
Unless there were some specific Puranic figure or a specific Malayali figure. Otherwise, invariably most of his heroines were draped in sari, and sari became the national costume of India. And his choice of sari went into the national integration of costumes. He was the person who did it,
Right.
though nobody realizes that.
Ma, what are you wearing? I know this is not a sari, something different.
It's not a sari at all. Nowadays, unfortunately, even the Malayalis have started using a wrong term, setti sari. There is no term like that. There is no setti sari. It is setti munda. This is one munda, one dhoti, and this is a second dhoti. There are two pieces. Very easy to manage.
Traditional.
But of course, it gets crumpled very soon.
Right.
And then I normally walk about as though I've been just pulled out of the waste paper basket. Because I'm not very good. Because some of them, even you have put the sari very nicely. I don't know, it somehow doesn't come to me.
But you always worn this one, the traditional?
Not always.
Okay.
I wear the sari quite a few times. Saris, but normally I wear this at home also. And even for, normally I wear this. And then I also have the maxis and things like that which the modern people wear, but not when somebody is coming to see you and all. But if there is nobody coming or something, then you don't have to, even in the hot season, just one maxi means less hot.
Yeah.
That way. And then when we go to Sree Padmanabhaswamy Temple, which is, we belong to the temple. It is our family, dynastic, personal family deity. When we go there, we have to wear a particular type of costume, not like this.
Okay.
Like that, but with the blouse.
Oh, okay.
Methigata, like this, and one piece. It's just one piece. Goes right down.
Okay.
And of course, there's a blouse.
Okay.
But it is not two piece, and it is without that we can't go.
But why is that so specific to the temple?
Olden days, that was a costume.
Okay.
This all came later.
Okay.
Olden times, everybody, even the Nair households, everybody used to wear this.
Right.
And that was the costume. So that is continued.
Coming back to olden days, and there's a system we call the patriarchal system and the matriarchal system. But when it comes to Travancore, it's a single royal family that followed the matrilineal system. How is that a different, unique, distinctive system?
Matrilineal system, you are very correct. Because many people say matriarchal. In Malayalam, it is called Marimakkatayam. Marumagan, Marumagal, this nephews and nieces. Avaril Kuda Varina Tayam. That is the lineage. Marumakkatayam. Now, in matrilineal system, matriarchal system, the woman is the head of the family.
Right.
In the matrilineal system, the man is the head of the family. But his family is through his mother, is through the woman. The family continues through the woman, but the man is the head of the family. And in the event of there being no man, the woman can. And that is why we have at least 3 queens.
Right.
In the modern history itself,
Yeah.
we have 3 queens. One of them ruled in her own right and then became the regent. Otherwise, there were mainly 3 regions, but one of the regions, that is Swathi Tirunal Maharaja, you must have heard, who was a big musician, music composer, musicologist. His mother, before he was born, she ruled in her own right as queen.
Okay.
But the moment he was born, she became the regent. So there were 3 regions.
So when it comes to matrilineal, the power flows through the woman. But
Not power. The family continues.
okay, through the woman.
family continues through the woman. It is a man who is the head of the family. At the same time, the women are given much respect. Their voices are heard in all important this, and the inheritance also goes to the woman, and through her to her children.
So when this happens, Amma, that when the family continues through the woman,
Yes.
I think it has really created very strong women in your family and strong queens, very
Not
empowered
because,
women.
I don't know whether it's just because matrilineal system was followed not just by our family. It was a common thing for many of the Kerala Hindus.
Oh, is it?
It is not just the Kerala, our royal family, I don't know. Then all the royal families, the Cochin royal family, almost all the Kshatriya families, we are Kshatriyas.
Okay.
All the Kshatriya families or the royal families of Kerala followed the matrilineal. Then the Nayars, they are high class Hindus. You are not supposed to talk caste and class, but here it has to be done. They followed the matrilineal. Like that, so many, basically in Kerala it was matrilineal.
Okay.
It was not restricted to the Travancore Royal Family.
But I think it really put women in places of administration, and it was very normal for them to be part of, administration, affairs, execution. It was not something off the charts.
No, they had the advantage. As somebody said, if you are born a woman, be born in Kerala. Because the Kerala women were given respect. They had their own rights, their own privileges, and so many things, so many pluses came their way, including inheritance.
Right.
So now all those things have changed, and the joint family system being there, that also it is a woman
Yeah.
through whom the family continues.
Yeah.
That way they were not thought of as chattels or as objects of pleasure or as people of convenience who do your cooking and your washing and
Yes.
who produce children. Much more than that, and many of them were educated.
Mm-hmm. Is that what is responsible for the system, the way the society is in Kerala, like how women are so participative?
Yes, yes.
That's how it's carried
the
forward.
matrilineal system has helped so much.
Yeah.
And then Kerala was the first literate state in India.
Yeah.
That is because, again, of matrilineal system. Yeah. Because everybody learned, everybody studied. There were so many, I don't think there was anybody uneducated.
So who brought that about?
From time immemorial.
Yeah.
It was there. But actually it says that matrilineal system, there are two ways that Sangramathira Ravi Kulashekara of the late 1300s, they say he came into power. He was one of our ancestors.
Yeah.
1300s.
Yeah.
He came through both sides. Father's side and mother's side, he became the king.
Oh, okay.
From both sides. And he opted for the mother's side.
Okay.
Then there is a saying that in the 8th century, the Hehe Rajam, they brought in the matrilineal. So we are not very sure exactly which. But anyway, at least from 1300s, definitely.
But this thing about education that you said, education, the primary education was made compulsory by a queen here.
Yes.
In 1817.
Yes.
Was that one of your ancestors?
Yeah, very much.
Okay.
That is Utritadi Tirunal Rani Gowri Parvati Bayi.
Right.
She was the regent to Maharaja Swathi Tirunal.
Okay.
Maharaja Swathi Tirunal, when he was born, and he became the king. Then at 1.5 years, when he was 1.5 years, and his mother was ruling as the regent. Beautiful, brilliant, but she passed away at the age of 24.
Okay.
And when he was 1.5. Then from 1.5 to the age of 16, her younger sister, Utritadinal Rani Gowri Parvati Bayi ruled till he became 16, and then he took over the reins of administration.
Okay.
It was during her reign in 1817 that she promulgated, please note the word, it is not issued, it is not a proclamation, it is a promulgation. It means it is so important that she promulgated an edict, which is called the Re-Edict on Education, by which compulsory education at all grassroots levels, at state-sponsored compulsory education, which much later you talk about primary education, this was the route. And though, unfortunately, Kerala does not remember the Rani, does not remember the promulgation, nothing they remember about her. They know about Swathi Tirunal because he is so famous. But apart from that, nobody knows. However, in the UNO, this promulgation of the Rani is displayed there. And in 2017, in Delhi, in the India International Center, with Mr. Ansari was the vice president. He was the chief guest. They had a 1.5-day seminar on education, and a big focus in the inaugural session itself was the Rani's proclamation. I was present there, very much present there. I was sitting next to him, and at the same time, not a leaf moved in Kerala on this. Not a leaf.
But they reaping the benefits of it, because what happened in the 1800s, we can see in the society.
No, but then the people, today's generations know nothing of our history. All they are taught of a selective history. I don't want to say what, but it's a very selective history they are taught. But none of the old, so many things have happened. I'll just give you one example. I don't know whether I'm digressing, but I'm giving an example. Please. The first fingerprint bureau was established in Calcutta. Next year, in 1900, that was in 1899, 1900, in the time of Maharaja Moolam Tirunal, who was before my uncle, the fingerprint bureau was established in Travancore, Travancore, Shri Aishwaryam Vilayna Nadu. So many, explanations to Tiruvidankor. Anyway, it was the year after that, in 1991, that Scotland Yard established a fingerprint bureau. So how much we were advanced in time, who knows? You talk of Right to Information Act, which is very common. You have to wait for 31 days and then whether you will get it or not, it's your luck. I think it was in time of Vishaka Tirunal or Island Tirunal. It was already introduced in Kerala. Travancore. In Travancore. It already, so before it was all these things came. Like that, there are so many things. You go to the city of Thiruvananthapuram, go around, you will see almost every building has the royal signature.
One doesn't realize how much of social reform it brought about, and the amount of long-sightedness and they had, the vision they had. Probably none of us carry in today's generation.
Because there was no vote bank to cater to. You don't have to catch a particular community or a particular religion to catch your vote. There was no vote bank.
So what
Today
was
it is
their
all
focus?
vote bank.
So what was their focus, Amma? What did they think? They just thought about the welfare of their country,
It
their
was
society?
for the welfare of the... I will give you one more example since you have asked it. The entire Indian states, I think it's 500 odd or 800 odd. Anyway, they were all divided and classified. The A states, B states, C states. 3 states. The A states had 21 gun salute. B states had 19 gun salute. C states had 17 gun salutes. Then the smaller states had no classification or gun salute. A states were only about 8 or 9. I can't remember all of them, but there's Jammu Kashmir, Hyderabad, Mysore, Travancore, Baroda, then I think 3 more, I can't remember. They were all A states with 21 gun salutes, Travancore included.
Right.
Then comes the B, then comes the C. B states 19, C states 17 gun salute. Then when World War came, the first World War came, then Maharaja Moolam Tirunal was ruling. 1914 to 1918, First World War. And all the rulers, big and small, even zamindars and people, they were competing with each other to send the maximum number of men for war. And those states which sent a considerable number were recognized and honored by the British imperial government. They gave them decorations and honors. Now, at that time, at that period of time, Travancore was an A state, 21 gun salute. But however, the number of people who went was somewhat dismal. Even some of the zamindars had sent more. The reason was that Maharajas, and we had our own army, Onnam Pattalam, Randam Pattalam, we had our own army also. He said, this is not our war. This is the white man's war. Why should I send my people to be as fodder to their guns? Whoever, in fact, he was very good in English also, but in Malayalam also he said, "Idu nammade yuddhamalla, idu vellakkarante yuddhamana. Ee yuddhathinu poi marikkanayittu ente aalukale ayakkan enikku ishtamilla." However, those who wanted to go, they made all arrangements for them to go. So by and large, the number which went from Travancore was much less than many other places. Now that could not go unnoticed.
Wow.
And the imperial government was so angry with the whole thing that they demoted Travancore from A to B.
Oh.
From 21 salute to 19 salute. They made Travancore B. It was from that time that Travancore became B for insufficient war effort. That was the reason.
For somebody else's war.
Yeah. That was the reason they gave, for insufficient war effort. So he said, fine, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If that is so, that's so. But anyway, coming back to the welfare, so all the states, depending on their status and categorization, they could take a certain percentage of the state revenue for their own personal needs. There were states which took up to 50% of the state revenue. That they could take it or not is another thing. I know the state also, but my uncle has said you must never mention it. So, of course, it is history. Anybody can find out. I don't have to mention it. But there were states which were taking 50.
Right.
The state, on all India, pan-India level, the state which took the smallest percentage, which was 4%. 4% was the rock bottom.
Yeah.
Then comes 7%. And then it goes on up to 50%.
50%.
The 4% state there was only one state in the whole of India which took 4%. That was Travancore.
Oh, is it?
Travancore with that, whether it's 21 or 19 gun salute, it had much, it could take much, much more.
Of course.
But my uncle, Maharaja Chitra Tirunal said, by the grace of Padmanabhaswamy, we have enough to live. I do not want to deprive my state and my people of maximum I want to give to them. For my own needs, I cannot deprive them. But I have to live also.
Yeah.
So he took 4%. The rest of it went for the welfare activities of that state.
Okay.
And the second state with 7% was Cochin.
Okay.
But Cochin was much smaller than
Travancore.
much smaller. I was just giving you
about social welfare.
about social welfare.
Yeah.
And in one sentence, another example,
Yeah.
a living example.
Yeah.
At least the people in the Malayali population here would know Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology in Ullur. It is one of the internationally accepted cardiology, neurology, medical
specialties.
Specialty hospital in the world. Sri Chitra. Sri Chitra came from the money which was given to my grandmother and my uncle from the government. They had a huge amount dues they had. From that, they took that money, they made 4 trusts.
Okay.
They made 4 trusts. With the entire money they put into the 4 trusts.
Okay.
And then from the interest of the trust, Chitra had its birth.
Okay.
My uncle always wanted a super specialty for brain and heart at affordable cost. The private hospitals, the charges are killing. And that it was the only thing which he did not want, but which took place against his wishes, was that he did not want his name. He's Sri Chitra Tirunal Rama Varma. This is Sri Chitra Institute, named after him. He did not want his name. He said, I will not sanction this institute if it is going to be an advertisement board for my name.
Okay.
The sentence he told me direct. So then finally, in a not so fair way, it was possible. That's a long story. I don't want to go into all that. And so, again, when you're talking of welfare, at that time, he was not in power.
Yeah.
He was just an ordinary man, like anybody else. He had no power. He had no title. He had no title. I think they all had, but they did not keep. The government of India had not abolished the titles. It was the privileges that they had abolished. He had no privileges, nothing. Like any other person, but he was never an ordinary man. However much he tried to be an ordinary man, he always remained special. That is another aspect of it.
Okay.
But at that time also, their outlook was to help the people. They could easily have taken that money and done so many things. Even if they had, that is the only thing I feel would have been a good thing. There's no point in thinking about it now. We were all grown up by that time.
Yeah.
If they had kept a small amount, not the whole, they said, if we leave this, our successors, they have all enough to live. So this money will come as, that amount of money should not go to private hands. It should go for public welfare. That's how they made the trust.
Okay.
But if they had kept a small amount as a sinking fund for this house, it would have been such a blessing, because we are struggling to maintain it.
What an irony, Amma.
That part of it is there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we also have no regret that they made it into a trust. They have given us, Padmanabhaswamy has given us, that is more than enough. If we can wipe one tear, bring a little bit of cheer to the heart of somebody, we are blessed.
So when it comes to the temple, in 1750, the Maharaja then, he basically gave up all his royalty and said the Lord Padmanabhaswamy would be the king of Travancore. What happened then?
You see, even and they took on it is believed that they took on the title of Sri Padmanabha Dasa.
Yes.
But this title, Sri Padmanabha Dasa, was operational in the family long before 1750.
Oh, is it?
But it was an emotional and personal title. There are records, scrolls. The temple has over 40 lakh records. The biggest historiographic literature in the world is with Sree Padmanabhaswamy Temple, or on Sree Padmanabhaswamy Temple, the second being Vatican.
Okay.
Anyway, so in many of the records refer to many of the rulers as Sree Padmanabha Dasa, so Bhudala Veera, Sree Padmanabha Dasa, Varma, like this. So the Sree Padmanabha Dasa title did not come in 1750.
Okay.
In fact, in 1750, when the Trippadi Danam, Tirupadilulla Danam, it is with that Danam that he surrenders the state to Padmanabha.
Yes.
At that time, his heir and his who was his nephew, Ramavarma, Karthika Tirunal Ramavarma, later on famous as Dharmaraja. Later on, Dharmaraja, he is famous as Dharmaraja. So he was the Raja, already leading men to battle and victory. But there is a record of his first birthday when he was surrendered to Padmanabha. They surrendered to, and the title, Sri Padmanabha Dasa, Karthirunal Ramavarma. He gets a title then on the first birthday. All of them.
Okay.
They are surrendered on the first birthday.
Okay.
They are placed on the Ottakal Mandapam, the Ekashila Mandapam. And anything that falls on the Ekashila Mandapam becomes a property of the temple.
Right.
So they are put on surrendered by the mother. The mother places the child. Up to and including my two sons. My younger son is the youngest in the family, Aditya. So up to and including them, it has happened.
Okay.
Does that help? They're all Sri Padmanabhadasas.
Right.
Now coming back to your point, title did not come with 1750, but however it underwent a slight change in complexion. It became official as well.
Okay.
Maharaja Martandavarma, his adoration to Sri Padmanabhaswamy was something beyond imagination. For him it was Padmanabha, 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 Padmanabha. I think perhaps the only comparison you can make to his adoration is that of my uncle, Chitra Tirunal, for whom also it was very much like that. And he had to sacrifice much more than Martandavarma. But in Martandavarma time there was war and conflict and all that. Those things were there which was not there for when Amman came. Anyway, so everything he wanted connecting with Padmanabhaswamy.
Yeah.
So the Kalkulam Palace in today's Kanyakumari district, he renamed it as Patnapuram. And it is even now known as Patnapuram, and Kalkulam Kottaram became Patnapuram Kottaram. Like this, almost everything and he shifted the capital from Patnapuram to Thiruvananthapuram so that he could be near his adored master.
Oh, is it?
But before the complete shifting came, he passed away.
Oh, okay.
Official complete shifting. But he passed away here, and anyway, so his people can call it adoration, they can call it obsession, and whatever it may be, it was an overriding emotion by which he wanted everything to be Bhagavan's.
Right.
And that he would rule as his Dasa. Now Dasa, at least in Malayalam, and perhaps even in Sanskrit and all that, not in English, it has got two meanings. Either Dasa can be a servant, or Dasa can be a slave. Sanskrit also it is there. We prefer the second, slave. Because if you are a servant and you don't want to work for your master, you can walk out. You can snap relationships and walk out. If you are a slave, you have no independent existence other than from him. We are bound. Our identity is he. Our heartbeat, our throb of the pulse, the flow of the blood, Padmanabha. We do not want an existence without him or away from him. And so we are bound to his feet. Normally when you come to slavery, the slaves are bound in chains, iron chains. But in our case, we are also bound by chains. But for us it is voluntary, not involuntary. But his decision, of course. But our chains are slightly different. They are silken strands of bliss. Anandathinte pattunoola. Silken strands of bliss.
Wow.
That is more than enough for us. So we are all, if you ask me for my biodata, I can always say in two sentences, I am a child of good fortune. Saubhagyathinte sandari, to have been born in the family of Padmanabha Dasa as his Adima.
True.
My biodata over.
And have you shared this emotion all through your life since
Yes.
childhood?
Yes.
And is it
No,
across
not
the family?
childhood we don't have much public speaking.
Yes.
And we come into more impact with the temple and what it meant a little when we grew
With
up.
experience.
We have always heard of Padmanabhaswamy.
Yeah.
2 or 3 things we have always heard of in our childhood. From the time, one is Padmanabhaswamy Temple, then one is discussions on the medical world,
Yeah.
whether it's allopathy or Ayurveda or Unani, then music.
Yeah.
These things we have heard all our lives. These subjects.
Yeah.
And our uncle only, Maharaj only in this very room, he used to tell us stories every day after our lunch.
Yeah. Amma, so being a Dasa to the Padmanabhaswamy, how has it shaped your responsibilities towards the society, the people who come to you asking for something? Has it changed? Because one is to be a part of the royal family, but being a Dasa, like you said, when you're a slave, what changes within?
No, because we have always grown up in that particular system. So there was no particular change. And we have seen extended to help in so many ways, whether it is a national disaster, whether it is a public need, whether it is a private demand, whatever it may be, so much we have seen people being helped, tears being wiped. And my uncle used to, Chitra, he used to say, what the right hand does, not the left hand know.
Yeah.
So many things which we have done, which they have done, what is history everybody knows. But other than that, so many things, so much of help that they have actually done. What we also do, and in our own small, limited manner, what we do even today, one is going today, just today now after this.
Yeah.
But we never talk about it, we never make it public. They know and we know. The recipient, of course, knows. And we know. That is enough. Because he used to say, don't let the left hand know what the right hand does. Varathekai cheyunna idathekai ariyanda. So, that...
You followed that also?
Yes, because sometimes you find a bus stand is being opened. There's a huge board funded by so-and-so, so-and-so. And of course the party. The bus stand is this much, the board is this much.
True.
And of course the person who did it is standing there. That sort of publicity, maybe they need it. In politics they may need publicity because people have to know what the parties are doing. But we are not political, we don't need that publicity. Our greatest reward is if somebody is really and truly helped, the happiness that comes to them.
True.
Isn't it?
True. Along with being a devotee, and your family has been Dasas, when you walk into the temple, Amma, the Swamy's temple, and you're also a scholar, what is something that you can't what is something that you can't put in words?
You have answered my question. You have answered my question, what cannot be put in words.
True.
Avachyam.
It can't be put in
And
words.
certain things you cannot explain, you have to experience. For instance, when you stand on the vertical mandapam and look at the divine face of Bhagavan, I have seen it in different moods. When you make it's a sculptured Katisharkara Vigraham. Sometimes he's smiling, a divine smile. Sometimes he's not so much smiling, but small smile. Sometimes he is in a contemplative mood. Sometimes he just ignores you, as if he does not know you at all.
You can see all the expressions.
Sometimes he looks stern. I have seen all these expressions. So how do you explain? You can't explain, you can only experience.
And are you always talking to him as well? Do you have conversations?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But then again, at least as far as I'm sure it's the same with almost everybody. As far as possible, please don't ask him for anything. Bhagavani, I want this, I want that, I want the other, I want the children. But at the same time, having said that, the children are having the model exams, and I prayed very hard that they may do well.
True.
That is another thing.
Yeah.
But normally speaking, for our own personally, I have not even after some time, I stopped praying for the success of our case in the Supreme Court. That was one of the greatest challenges in our life. Over 9.5 years, in the Supreme Court alone, and for almost every hearing I was there in the court. Would meet the advocates the previous day, discuss with them, and be present in the court.
Aman, this legal dispute, it started in 2007. What actually happened?
Somebody, I don't want to go into the details of it because again I would be perhaps inviting unnecessary controversy.
Yeah.
But somebody's anger, somebody's personal feelings of displeasure culminated in, finally it snowballed into a huge bomb. What started as a small seed. And the crux of it was that Maharaja has no right to be the trustee or whatever it is of the temple, the guardian or trustee or whatever it is of the temple, because the words in the covenant, there's a special covenant.
Oh, is it?
Governing the temple with the government of India.
Okay.
Which it says, the Maharaja of Travancore. There is no Travancore, there is no Maharaja.
Right.
So he has no reason. And now, because there is no Maharaja and no Travancore, it becomes a state. The state should take over. One of my arguments was that Travancore did not represent Kerala. So how can the Kerala government take over? If it's a Travancore government by itself, that's a different thing. But it's a Kerala government where there is Kochi and Kozhikode and Malabar and Malappuram. That is not there. It's not a Travancore government.
Yeah.
It's a Kerala government.
Right.
So it cannot succeed Maharaja. And then again, there are so many different connotations we have used.
Right.
And even in the Supreme Court case verdict, in another case, they have referred to him as Maharaja of Travancore. We quoted that. Then that also should become null and void. That should become, and then the privileges were abolished, but the titles continued.
Right.
So he continued as the Maharaja. The Gaddi, as they said, the throne. So that the right to the Gaddi or the titles were not. So obviously he's a Maharaja.
Right.
Then Travancore, that we had our own material and our own debates on the thing. Anyway, but even there, after a time, I stopped, please let us win the case. After about half of this, all I used to say was Jai Jai Padmanabha.
Among Kerala High Court first ruled against the royal family.
First, the lower court.
Yeah, the lower court.
We lost.
Yeah.
Then we went to the High Court.
Yes.
We never thought even for a moment that we would lose. Because how can you, can anybody sort of wonder on which side the sun would rise?
Yeah.
It will rise on the east.
Right.
It will set in the west. Like that, who can say Padmanabhaswamy Temple in the Travancore Royal Family? Who can even have a doubt? The lower court losing because of the judge said, it appears that in his entire professional career, he has not seen an advocate. Only the palace advocate was enough to lose the case because so badly argued. That's what he said. Then they went into the High Court. That time also, the rest of the family was not really involved. It was the Maharaja, that was, by that time Chitra Tirunal had moved on. It was his younger brother, Uttaradandana Martanda Varma, who was the Maharaja.
Right.
Who was Raja and who became
and
the
And
Maharaja.
he was handling the case?
And it was under his, this, and none of us were, and we were not really particularly anxious about it because, it's a sure thing.
Sure.
Nothing to, one day, we don't even know that the verdict is coming. That is our involvement. One day my husband switches on the TV at 3 o'clock. And the first thing we hear is that the Travancore Royal Family loses in the High Court with regard to Padmanabhaswamy Temple.
You saw it on TV?
I saw it on TV. Then you're sitting and looking. Next sentence, within 1 month, the Kerala government has been directed to take over the running of the temple. Taking into consideration the Travancore Royal Family is connect with the Padmanabhaswamy Temple. All the privileges that they have as Padmanabha Dasas in the temple will be continued.
Oh my God.
This is the verdict. That is the time you realize that something like that has come. We immediately, my son and I, we got into the car and we went to
Okay.
Pattam,
Okay.
to where my uncle was staying.
Okay.
And then so many things happened, and then we went into the Supreme Court.
Yeah. I think your uncle moved on and then you took over the case in
No,
2000.
no, no. No, I never took over the case.
Okay.
It was always the head of the family.
Okay.
My uncle was, and we pleaded into, I mean, not officially, we just pushed ourselves in.
Yeah, right.
Into the case. And I started going to Delhi. And I went to Delhi and met our advocate. And I still remember what he asked me. He asked me one question. He said, "What would you say if you lost the case?" This was one of the first sentences he asked me. I had only one reply to give. I didn't have to think about what reply I should formulate.
Right.
Just one reply. "Sir, the corpses don't talk." He said, "What do you say if you lose? If we lose the case, we become living corpses. Then corpses, they are dead. They don't talk.
Wow.
So corpses don't talk."
10 years of a decade long of fight. It's not a small
No, 9.5
number. Yeah.
years, and I know Delhi in its summer, in its burning summer, in its freezing winter, in its sandstorms and in its lashing rains. I have seen Delhi in all her moods and all her temperaments. I have sat on the veranda on a wooden bench in the freezing cold, watching the deciders of destiny walk by in black robes, walking by, deciding somebody's destiny, somebody somewhere. I've seen it all, so many things I have seen. But anyway, the case was not conducted by me. It was conducted till my uncle passed on in 2013. My uncle passed away in December. Then my brother took it over and he continued the case. He became the next Maharaja, my younger brother.
Among all these ups and downs and so many things against the family rulings, how did the faith and conviction stay? What kept it together for you?
I don't know, Padmanabhaswamy. Our conviction that he will take care of his own. It is his right to take care of us because we are his own. Bound to him, not in iron chains, but in silken strands of bliss.
But you just put in the work. You just went there, stood there, waited there, day after day.
Of course, every day. I mean, it was not just me.
Yes.
Please don't think that it's. But I went the maximum. I went. That is true. Yes. But everybody was involved in the case. For everybody, it was a life and death affair.
How was it for the family?
It was very bad. It was
very stressful.
Bad, very stressful. But after a time, we all sort of gained some inner courage, some inner strength, by which, but we did not know how we would react if the case had gone against us. Then what?
Did it bring you
that
all closer?
We do not know. We did not think about that alternative. We did not want to be prepared for defeat. We wanted to await victory. But then, even then, it was very, very, and so many things happened. The arrival of the amicus curiae, that huge negative report that he gave.
Yes.
500-page.
Yes.
I have the report with me. I've underlined every place where he has said the wrong thing, where he had said adharmam, asatyam. But then it went into the this, and so many things we heard. So many things. We have not taken a gram of gold or a grain of sand from the temple. Nobody in the family, nobody has taken what all we heard. And not just from them, but from the common parley and all. But I think by and large the people really did not believe the negative falsehoods that were being circulated, and there was such a huge support system. When the verdict was coming on Monday in August, Saturday we knew that the verdict was coming. Monday also I went to the temple, but I did not pray for a good verdict. Till Monday morning, I had no problem with my mind. It was very calm. Then somebody called me on Sunday and told me Padmanabhaswamy, somebody who was not quite in our favor, called me up and said, Padmanabhaswamy will decide who should look after his interests. I said, true, and I put down the phone. I said, true, and I put down the phone. It is true. Anyway, the decision is over. They would have finished everything. Now only for the verdict to come on Monday. I did not go to Delhi because our advocates said that when the final hearing comes, normally the involved people don't go. Only the advocates go. Because they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So we didn't go. We were sitting in front of the TV.
Did it bring your family together? The whole experience, did it bring you all much closer together?
No, we are always a joint family.
Yeah.
So that way, and and we were all sitting there. I slept on Sunday. I slept nicely. My brother didn't. He could not. He didn't. But I slept. Perhaps I'm a little insensitive. But I don't know. But on Monday, I was also a little tense. Till then, I was not. What is going to come? And we were all, ourselves, our staff, our officers, everybody was in front of the TV. 10:30, the Malayalam news came. Thirunal Rajakudumbam, Padmanabhaswamy Kshetrathile കേസിൽ ജയിച്ചു വിധി രാജകുടുംബത്തിന്. Oh, from then onwards the phone started ringing and well anyway. The next day was my birthday.
Oh,
what
wow.
better birthday gift could he give me?
You call yourself insensitive, but Amma, the kind of conflict and the pressures you must have gone through over those 9.5 years, I think that's put you to rest, because at the end, like you always said, that you left everything to him. And you just rested. He just put you to
because there's no, and I
peace.
know people who did not sleep the whole night. And my brother at least is closely connected.
Yeah.
People who have sat up the whole night with a lamp lit, chanting Bhagavatam or Sahasranamam. People who gave up one night's food. I mean, there were so many people who are suffering or who were exposed to the, the trauma. So many people whom we don't even know, all over America, there, so many. But anyway, that is.
I think this case very clearly reveals, what ancient traditions, how they don't fit into legal framework. Would you say so? The modern legal framework. And when ancient traditions have to sort of be brought into context.
Tradition has to be protected. It has to be kept. If there is no past, there is no present. If there is no present, there is no future. And just for the sake of change, just for the sake of modernity, you go and change things. Sometimes it is very specialized change. Certain areas alone, they bring in change. Certain areas, they leave untouched. Or so many things are there, but they're all highly sensitive areas, so we will not go into that.
Okay. Amma, tell me, when the court ruled that the inventory of the temple had to be checked, centuries of something that was preserved very silently and kept away suddenly came to the public light. And when it came to the public light, could people appreciate, the sanctity of it? Because they didn't have any context of something so sacred.
I think there was a lot of appreciation. That so much was kept there intact. I will tell you one thing. With so much wealth, people say that Padmanabhaswamy Temple is the richest temple in the world. I don't say. People say. They keep on saying, oh, that's the richest temple in the world. That's the richest temple in the world. Anyway, that is what they say. I don't say it. However, definitely there was wealth, isn't it? When there have been times when the temple was strained for income. Temple faced really hard times economically because wealth, a gold necklace is wealth. It is not money. It is not liquidity. For money, you need money. So if you sell the necklace and you get money, then you can use it. Otherwise, just by it being there, it will not, unless you pledge it and take money. Even in the times when the temple faced a drastic financial crisis, which it did off and on in the modern times.
Oh, is it?
Yes. During the time of Chitra, when all the changes came, because from him he was submitting, I won't say give, he was submitting so much from his own personal funds to a temple. Suddenly the privy purses stopped. Privileges go. That is free electricity, free water, subsidized petrol, then so many, no taxes, like this, so many things. For everything, the free is not there and you have to pay. And you have lost your privy purse, so your financial crunch became really bad. And even then he made the trust. even then. But anyway, so when these things came, he could have easily taken something, it was completely under him. He had to ask nobody. He could have opened one of the Kalaras, taken something, sold it and used the money for the temple. Not to buy rice for the palace, but for the temple, for the needs of the temple, he did not touch.
Oh, is it?
He sold his own personal assets. His own personal assets, some of them he would sell and he would give. Who knows?
Oh.
How many people know all this? What all nonsense you hear sometimes on the
So
on
the wealth was
media.
not even used for the temple.
For the temple. His own. I have myself seen some of the things. After some time, they are not there. Taken, pillars, silver pillars and things like that, cut into bits and sold. And then finally,
By
both
whom?
my uncles, not only Chitra, even Uttaradan has used his own money.
Oh, they
And
cut their pillars and sold it and used it for the welfare of the temple
for the
upkeeping.
for many things.
Yeah.
So like there's so many of their own personal money, which are from the bank they draw out the money, and that they submit to the temple. Both of them have done it.
Amma, tell me one thing. Does all this wealth belong to Padmanabhaswamy?
Belongs to Padmanabhaswamy.
Can you explain that?
If I give you something,
Yeah,
it is yours or mine or somebody else's.
it's mine.
It's yours. All the things are sitting there were submissions to Padmanabhaswamy during different times, different spans of time. They belong to him and him alone. When the court case was going on, one offer came that the whole wealth must be evaluated. They have been inventorized, they have not been evaluated because it's not possible to evaluate. So make it into four, half for Padmanabhaswamy Temple, quarter they will give us and quarter the government will take. We said we want nothing.
Is it?
We want nothing. We don't want even a gram of gold or a grain of sand. Nothing. It is all his. We want nothing. And quite a lot of it has been submitted by the family. Whatever people may say, some people have different opinions, but whatever they may say, we don't have to convince them. But a huge amount came, then some came as submissions from outside also.
Okay.
Definitely.
So, Amma, when people sincerely ask that this wealth should be used for public welfare, does it make sense?
Outwardly, it may make sense. Public purposes, if you use the wealth, how it will be utilized or misutilized, you do not know. Then finally, there will be nothing left here, and something or other may be done. That should not be. We personally feel that what is his should remain his.
And what is the difference between wealth and treasure?
It's a huge difference. Because people wrongly qualify it as treasure. It is not treasure. It is wealth. Treasure is a dangerous word to use in this context because treasure normally you find underground and when you excavate or something, and treasure belongs to the government, to the state. So the moment you use the word treasure, Kerala government can possibly think that it is theirs. Wealth is different. Swatta, wealth is wealth. Treasure is something you stumble upon in one way or the other, and at least portion of it would belong to the ruling administration.
Okay. And what is the story of Vault B? Because there's so much of information around Vault B floating around.
It is something magnified. It is something which has been blown out of proportion. First of all these alphabets did not exist. This A Kalara, B Kalara, the so-called A and B Kalaras were Sri Bhandarat Kalara, Mahabharat Code Kalara. These were the original names.
Okay.
When they became A and B and all that.
Okay.
Now, the so-called B Kalara, I do not know what it contains. Perhaps it is nothing.
Oh, is it? You have no idea?
No. Perhaps it is nothing. Perhaps it is something. To the best of my knowledge, it has not been opened for a very long time. Sometime it would have been opened.
Long
possibly.
time, as in, you can think of a time
No,
or no idea?
Then people keep on saying, there is in the records, so many times the B Kalara has been opened. B Kalara is made of two sections. One inner section and a sort of an elongated room with bars.
Okay.
Now you have to open the elongated room to get in, and there is another door leading to somewhere. Both these are Bikalara. Together they form Bikalara. This elongated room has been opened many times.
Okay.
There were silver vessels, that, this and all. For so many reasons they were opened.
Okay.
But the other door, to the best of our knowledge, has not been opened.
Okay.
What it contains, we do not know. What is its structure, till where is its dimensions, to where does it lead, we do not know.
Can it be opened?
It has not been opened.
Okay.
And someday, sometime, but for what? Is it to satisfy the inquisitiveness of the people or the curiosity of the court? For what should it be opened? When it should not be opened, it need not be opened. Then there are so many stories connected with it. So we really do not know whether it has anything, whether it has nothing. We don't know.
Okay.
Then during the course of the case, when from April 24th, 2014, Supreme Court removed the Travancore Royal Family from the administration and put up a Supreme Court constituted committee to look after the temple, in which the royal family had no representation, no say, no presence.
Okay.
During that time, among the legal people who were deputed here, two of them decided. They went down to the Bikalara, opened the outer chamber, and told them, you open this door. All sorts of wrong information that it is bound by Naga Mantram, and there are two huge, the presence of two huge snakes. It's just a plain door.
Okay. So this is all wrong information.
All wrong. All these things are wrong. It's just a plain. I have never been there. I have never been to the outer area also.
Okay.
But my son who has been there, he says it's absolutely plain. There is no Nagabandham, nothing. So they said, open the door. So a huge bunch of keys were brought from somewhere. They tried all the keys, it would not open.
Oh, is it?
Because nobody knows where the keys of the bee are.
Okay.
Nobody knows.
Okay.
So it would not open. Then they decided, no, it has to be opened. And they said, we will get a gas cutter and cut open the door. And they are ordered, and they are Supreme Court. Supreme, so they ordered for a gas cutter to be brought. Like whirlwind, the information spread into the temple. And it was a panic situation, because so many stories are there connected with this cholera.
Yeah.
There is one story saying that inside it is the ocean of milk or paladi, which if it is opened, it will come out and flood the area. There is another story saying that there are rishis, sages, in their astral form, sitting in meditation and prayer. They should not be disturbed. Then there is another thing saying there is a yakshi, a very malevolent spirit, who was very fierce, who had been tamed by Narasimhaswamy, and she is sitting there in meditation. She should not be reawakened. Like this, so many stories, so many oral traditions are there.
And this was passed to you, this was told to you by somebody? Or
I mean, we have been hearing this
since childhood?
No, after we came up in like this.
Okay.
And then during this Ashtamangala Prasnam, they said that certain chakras, like Sri Chakra, Sudarshana Chakra,
Yeah.
Chakra. So one chakra has been buried under the earth in the cholera.
Okay.
And the charges of that chakra connect directly to Padmanabhaswamy's Moola Bimba. And the charge should not be interrupted. So if you open this, that can get broken. Oh, can you see the charge? No, you cannot. But when the TV comes or the radio comes, can you see from where it comes? Can you see? You can't. Light comes from where does it come? Yeah. So like that, these charges are connecting Bhagavan's bimbam, and they cannot be disturbed, because once they're disturbed, maybe there are not people who will be able to re-establish it. Today, people with that capacity, we do not know. Like this, so many things are there. They said, cut open. So they went to get the machine. So one of the judges, he was walking up and down. He would walk up to the door of the cholera, walk back. They're waiting. So he was walking up and down, up and down. Suddenly, somebody found a drop of blood on the floor. And it is a stream, it's a long line of blood up to the door of the Bikalara. It is coming from his foot.
Oh my God.
He has hurt his foot, and one stream of blood drop up to the door of the Bikalara.
Oh my God.
The moment he saw that, they got frightened. Immediately they said they cancelled the gas cutter, shut the door, lock it. And they came, and never have they tried again after that.
This is what actually happened.
Actually happened. The person whose leg was cut is very much alive. He himself has talked about it. Whether he has talked about the blood, I don't know, but he has talked about it in the papers and the TV also. He has talked. He is very much alive. He is a judge of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Now I think he's retired.
Okay.
Now.
Amma, you're a very passionate writer. You wrote about the temple, the Padmanabhaswamy, the book. You wrote that about 10 years before this legal dispute started.
Yes, yes.
Ever before the world actually got to
Yes.
know about the
Yes.
history of the temple.
Yes.
At that time, what did you want the readers to understand about the temple?
Because it was, despite the fact that it was a royal temple, despite the fact that it was the temple of Travancore and all that, there was very little information about it except fragmented information.
Okay.
So whatever little I knew, I wanted to sort of put it together within two covers and bring out a book.
Okay.
That was the only idea.
Okay.
And I thought it would be very easy for me because coming from this family,
Yeah.
it would be very easy for me. But once I started, I understood that I'm walking into an ocean without boundaries.
Okay.
There's so much.
Okay.
Yeah, so much.
So
now
there's so
the
much-
8th edition is now coming. 7 editions of the temple, the book are
Okay.
over.
Okay.
The 8th edition is now coming into print very soon.
So when people read it, what can they find in it? Everything
You will
about.
have to ask them.
Oh, there's so much of information. Ocean.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I guess so. I mean, I can't say there is no information. There
Okay.
is. Otherwise, what's the point in writing a book?
Yeah. Right. And Amma, you received the Padma Shri recently. How was that experience for you? What did it make you feel?
It was totally unexpected. Nobody talked. I have never worked for any award. By the grace of Padmanabhaswamy, including day before yesterday's award, I have 82 awards. 82. Padma Shri comes somewhere in between, 50 or 40, 50 something. I never knew about it. I have never thought about the Padma Shri or anything. One day, that is on the 25th of January, 2024, 12:30, here I was standing in the next room and I got a phone and they said they're calling from Delhi. I was wondering why they're calling me from Delhi. God, maybe one of the advocates, we know so many people, we had made friends, somebody. Then the person said, I'm calling from the ministry. Congratulations. You are you're winning a Padma Shri. You're getting a Padma Shri. So I just didn't know what he was talking about. So
Yeah.
I told him, I think you called the wrong person.
Out of nowhere.
And I'm sure because I have never thought of the Padma Shri. Never. So, and I was sure that he had got the wrong person. And why should they give me a Padma Shri? So I said, you got the wrong person. Please check and call the right person. Then he told my full name, my nakshatra, everything. It is me. And then he asked, would you accept it? So I said, definitely. Then please don't tell anybody. Tonight we will be announcing.
All in one phone call.
One phone. Tonight, because that is 25th, 26th is Republic Day, when these things are announced. So 25th they'll be officially announcing it, and 26th it will come in. Then actually getting it would be at some later stage,
Right.
the later day. He asked me, are there any press people near you? I said, no. Then please don't tell anybody. I never said I will not tell anybody. He said don't tell anybody. I did not say anything, but I did not tell anybody because I was still convinced that there was some mistake. Only people I told was my elder sister and her husband. Only people. But that night, it came. I have no idea who nominated. I have no idea how it happened. Of course, I'm happy, but I still wonder how, why. And the next month, and then the only problem that came was that they had decided to give the Padma Shri in April, the day next to the Arat in the Padmanabhaswamy Temple. Now, for the Padma Shri people, they are supposed to come the day previous, they have to come to Delhi. For me to come to Delhi previous, I would have to miss the Arat. So I did not even have to think 1 minute. I phoned them and said, please, I am unable to come.
What is the Aratama?
That is the 10th day of the Padmanabhaswamy Temple festival. The last concluding day. We have 2 festivals, annual festivals. Now it's going to start in March now. It will be 2nd of April, this time is Arat. And even the procession from the temple comes to the beach for a holy dip and goes back.
Oh.
And it walks over the runway. It walks through the runway.
Oh.
All the international flights, all the flights are rescheduled.
Okay.
Temple is the airport is closed for aviation traffic. And the Guinness Book, it can easily go into the Guinness Book because for an airport, international airport to close.
Yeah.
But this, when the land was made available for the airport, that was during Maharaja Chitra Tirunal's time, my uncle's time.
Yeah.
He said orally, there is nothing in writing. He said orally, 363 days in the year, this land is for the public. 2 days a year it is for Padmanabhaswamy. There's a 2 arats.
Yeah.
363 ദിവസം ആളുകൾക്ക് 2 ദിവസം പത്മനാഭന ഈ ഭൂമി. അങ്ങനെ the Arat procession passes through. And now Adani has come. They also, it is no longer the other airport, but with great honor and all that, it continues. I don't know why I said that. Yes, so the Arat, for Arat was coming. The next day was Padma Shri.
Yeah.
So I would have to go without the Arat, witnessing the Arat procession. I did not have any time to think. I just told them, my priority is this. I cannot come. But fortunately for me, they were giving the Padma Shri in 2 sections. They said, you don't worry. We are giving it in 2 sections, then we will put you in the next section. So like that, I went and got the Padma Shri.
Oh, wonderful.
And the next month, I got a doctorate in honorary D.Lit in literature from the Salem Vinayaka University. They gave me the doctorate. That was the next month.
Okay. Well, what do you hope that, the Travancore Royal Family, what do you hope, what traditions and, how would you like to see the legacy continue in your future generations? What is your hope, your dream for them?
I don't dream.
You don't? What do you wish for them?
I hope, but I don't dream.
Okay.
That as long as the sun and the moon exist, our service and submissions to Padmanabhaswamy should remain. And that in our hearts, he should be there. Swamin mamaka manasam viharatam tvayeva nityam hare. O Swamin, may you be, not just give happiness, intoxication, exultation, exhilaration. May that come into our hearts. And may our hearts think only of you. Mama, may my mind in exultation and exhilaration, ecstatic exuberance, may it come think only of you. Only of you. Tvayeva, only of you. From that let it be. That is my dream. Not my dream. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to call it. But it may not be. I mean, each person has their own, but then everybody is bound by Padmanabhaswamy. There is no doubt about that. And he will decide. But dear God, let it not ever get broken. May Padmanabhaswamy bless us. That is our greatest blessing. And may that continue.
Lastly, Amma, what is one question that you always have wanted to be asked but never asked? Is there anything? Something that you wish somebody asked?
Oh, a number of questions. Not one. But then unfortunately, they cannot, on such a platform, they cannot be asked and answered. As of now, maybe at a later stage it would be possible, but as of now it would be unwise. At some time, definitely. But otherwise, I don't know. Anything anybody can ask, whatever we can answer, we answer. If there is something we cannot answer, we would say, unfortunately, we cannot answer. And that was the end of it.
Right. It's been so wonderful to understand things from you, your experiences. It's an absolute honor. And there's so much about you out there. But to talk to you, sit in front of you, and to just feel your emotions, and it just gives me an insight into who you are. And I'm so thankful for this opportunity, Amma. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me also to sit and look at a pretty girl.
It's the same for me, Amma.
And you...
To look here at such a strong woman, so much inspiration I draw from it.
But anyway, so thank you very much and all the best. May God, in whichever form you think of him, bless you and lead you on. And God bless.
Thank you so much, Amma. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.